Okay, welcome to part 2 of how to answer question 4 on paper 1. Reminder of our question: evaluate the usefulness of one of the following theories in understanding audiences for online newspapers such as The Guardian and the Daily Mail. It's 10 marks. It's Shirky's end of audience theory or Gerbner's cultivation theory. In front of you, you should have your notes from last lesson. And a couple of tabs open, which you're going to need to look at some specific examples. So the first thing you're going to need to do is, I missed out on the last video some important information about The Guardian online. So I just wanted to fill in some gaps because we did this for the Mail, but we didn't do this for The Guardian. So it's a top line information about who reads The Guardian and how it is consumed. This is straight from The Guardian website. 24 million people each month, and you'll notice that's very similar to the Daily Mail's amount of people who that they reach. They claim to be the #1 most trusted news brand, which is quite important when it comes to advertising, because people are going to pay more for news brands which have a high amount of people reading their material, but also the amount of trust the audience has within the brand itself. So the brand reached 24 million a month. There's the breakdown there. But have a look at what people say, or why people say they are engaged within The Guardian. 87% is down to trust. Interestingly, nearly 80% feel a close connection with The Guardian itself. And have a look at the spread of the platforms which people use The Guardian. So again, the majority is 47%, but that's much less than the 69% that have a look at the Daily Mail online. So take a breather, pause the video now, and add these stats to the information that you already have on The Guardian online. Okay, so back to the question. This is a case study question, so you do need to make specific references to The Guardian and the Daily Mail. So we go back to our home pages here, and what's on the front page of the Daily Mail online will be different to the one that you have in front of you depending on when you're doing this. I've just chosen a story pretty much at random from the right hand side here. I could have picked any one, but I just wanted to show you this one, which you can have a look at yourself. This is about Gordon Ramsay, who's come under some fire because he's gone to his second home during lockdown in Cornwall. Have a look at this article. First of all, have a look at how many different ways you can share it, how many times it has been shared. This is from yesterday, but it's been updated today. It's got over 1,000 comments on Gordon Ramsay and how he has essentially been to the shops with his family. And it's pretty thrilling stuff. Look at the amount of pictures that have been taken, clearly with a long lens zoom, of the amount of information that is in this article. Just picture after picture after picture. Now we know the Daily Mail is picture led, but there's videos here from Ramsay's own Instagram talking about what he's been doing just on a daily basis. There's just so much information. You'd think this is a lead story, but this was just one of 2,000 articles that the Daily Mail produced daily. This is Ramsay's son and another son. He went on a bike ride, ladies and gents. I know it's newsworthy stuff. More about Gordon Ramsay, more, and it just keeps on going. What I wanted to show you though was this comments bar at the bottom, which is quite unique to the Daily Mail. This is what a lot of people actually go to the Mail online for. It's comments from individual people about the article, and as you can imagine, it can get quite nasty. No surprise, the man is a prize idiot, and not a good looking family, are they? And that's with the help of Botox. Now these are not regulated comments, so anyone can comment on this, and if you like the comment you can hit up like, which pushes it to the top of this list here, or if you don't like it, it goes down the list. So that's how they sort of moderate what the popular comments are. Here we go. Classic snowflakes everywhere. So this is a really interesting example of participatory culture. and how people are involved with this story so much that they feel it necessary to go and comment on it, to actually become involved within the media, as opposed to just listening or hearing the media from the people who have reported it. So this comes under the guise of Web 2.0. Previously, you would have just read the story and maybe commented to somebody in your house or your friend, oh, isn't that interesting? But now people have their own opinions, and it keeps on going on and on and on. So Web 2.0 is the ability to interact with the story as opposed to just being told the story. Interestingly, Gordon Ramsay wears a wetsuit as he enjoys bracing swim. I mean, you know, this is the sort of stuff that is prevalent within the Daily Mail. Now, obviously, the idea of commenting on articles is not unique to the Daily Mail. The Guardian had its own ability to comment as well. In this particular article about the lockdown plan, there's 679 comments, much less than the Ramsay comment. And if we scroll down, this is the sort of thing that we're going to get. Again, slightly more politicized, but you do get your bashing commentary, as you would do on any news brand. The Tories are incompetent idiots, blah, 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 blah. So the reason I'm showing you this is because this is a good example of the use of Web 2.0, the ability for people to react and interact with the story, but also it's an example of an active audience, not an inactive audience or a passive audience, as Clay Shirky would say. So you can see where I'm going with this. I'm thinking that I'm going to be talking about Clay Shirky as opposed to Gerbner, and this or these ideas are some of the ideas that I'm going to be using when it comes to giving my specific examples. So back to the question, I've decided I'm going to focus on Shirky. If you need to remind yourself on Shirky's theory, please do go back onto Mrs. Fisher's brilliant YouTube site and remind yourself of what's been of Shirky's theory. But in a nutshell, Shirky says that there is no such thing as a passive audience anymore. People want to be involved with the stories, and they want to be part of the media that is being produced, and they produce the media themselves. And we've certainly seen that within the examples from the Daily Mail and the Guardian. The fact that we've read that means that people are producing the media, not necessarily the powers that be. But you should also be aware that even though we have looked at those comment slides, that is not the majority of the article. The article has been produced by a professional journalist. If you wanted to go and just look at user-generated content for your news stories, well, you'd go to Facebook and you'd go to Twitter. And this is not Facebook or Twitter. This is the Mail Online and the Guardian Online. So automatically we're starting to think of our limitations to using this particular theory when understanding audiences for online newspapers. So this is our plan. We're going to summarize the theorist in a sentence or so. What's Shirky talking about? The next thing we're going to do is outline one of the ways that this theory does help us to understand the audiences for our case study website and give examples. So in this case, I might say the 1,000 or so people who have commented on the Gordon Ramsay story about him flouting lockdown rules suggests that there is scope to have a look at Shirky's theory to say that there is no passive audience because people want to be involved in the story. And I might also say the same about the Guardian website here and give some specific examples about the 600 or so people who have commented on the government's handling of lockdown. So by talking about the people commenting on the article, you are directly answering the question regarding Shirky's end of audience theory. However, we can't ignore the fact that before the comments there are all of these pictures, all of these words, this copy, which has been created by professional journalists at the Daily Mail and at the Guardian. But, and there is a big but here, and this is very important when we're talking about these evaluate questions, you have to show that there is an argument here. You need to put a connective or however, or on the other hand. Both the Daily Mail and the Guardian are trusted news brands. People go to the Daily Mail and the Guardian to get news stories. If they choose to interact with the news site after that, it's after they have read the after they've read the information. So although there's plenty of user-generated commentary at the bottom, the article was not user-generated. It's just the comments at the bottom which is user-generated, which means there is a limitation then with using this theory to understanding the audiences for online newspapers, because it's not the audience who make up the majority of the article. If we were to take Shirky's theory verbatim and to say which sites could be really used to show that there is an end of audience, we could only really talk about Snapchat, Twitter and Facebook, because all of that is user generated. And to go back on that point, we can then highlight how the Daily Mail tried to embrace social media by making it very easy to like and to share their commentaries and their analyses. So then we need to conclude. So we need to say ultimately, Shirky's theory offers a helpful interpretation to see how trusted news brands have adapted to an online scenario, and it shows how they want to have a greater relationship with their audience members by encouraging them to comment, to encourage a personality fix for those individuals. However, it doesn't take into account the production of the story, which limits the use of the theory. And also, because he is an audience theorist, we can't use it to talk about industry, media language, and representation. So that's how we're going to structure our essay. What is the theory? How can we use from our analyses of the Mail Online and the Guardian Online articles that we've looked at, how can we use that information from our case study to back up the theory? Is it completely appropriate? Are there limitations to it? And conclude by summarizing your previous 3 paragraphs. Remember, there's only about 15 minutes to write this question. You haven't got a huge amount of time. The plan needs to be succinct and the writing needs to be succinct as well. So the rest of today's lesson is to plan this answer. Take your time over it. Make sure the plan is good. The next lesson that you're going to have will be the writing of this answer. Spend 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes to write it to the best of your ability. I'm a firm believer if you write something down now, you're more likely to remember it in the future. As usual, email your notes to your teacher and then email your response to your teacher once you have completed it. I hope this video makes sense. Sorry if it was a little bit rambly, but do just remember to keep your notes in front of you, have your Daily Mail and Guardian articles up in front of you, know your theorists, and the rest should be relatively simple. Good luck.